are listening to WCEG Network, Take a Stand, today with your host, Damita Chatman. Um, like us on Facebook, like us on Twitter, LinkedIn, follow us on Roku Television, Apple Television. Whatever is said today, this is this disclaimer. Anything that is said today is the comments and the views of the host and the guest, not the show producer. Um, Thank you for tuning in, Miss Valencia, Honorable Valencia Stovall. So you finna get ready to run for this Senate seat. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So give me a little background of you for a few minutes. It's just me and you, so give me a little background of you today.
All right, well, hello to your audience. I am Valencia Stovall. I am the native of Atlanta. I currently reside in Clayton County, and I am a candidate for State Senate District 34. And I'm a mother, I'm a business owner, I'm a community servant, and as a former legislator, I served 8 years in the Georgia House of Representatives, representing Clayton County. And during that time was instrumental in several bold and bipartisan legislation that was actually passed and signed into law.
Okay, well, thank you. Let me ask you a question. What made you want to come back to go under the Gold Dome again?
Very good question. I get that a whole lot. After I retired in 2020 from the legislature, I ran for office for U.S. Senate, and then 2 years ago, I ran for Congress. So this particular seat became open because the current senator is retiring. And so I had a lot of former constituents and friends asking me, Valencia, will you consider running again? And part of the district that this Senate district again is a district that I once represented for 8 years. And so they know that my work and track record of getting things done, bold leadership down at the Capitol and in the county, then they kept requesting that I consider and please run for this seat. So it wasn't that on my checklist to run. I said, I'm taking a break. I said, I have 4 wins. I said, now I got 2 losses. I said, I'm almost tired. I don't think I want to run. So, but yeah, it was a major request, and I prayed about it and prayed some more till the Lord said, yes, it's time for you to go ahead and run for this seat.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Because sometimes, and I don't want to put you on the hot seat, but I'd rather ask this question than somebody else, because I know once I get this question here, then it'll be out there. I know that you ran as a Democrat before, and you switched over to independent. What made you do that switch?
And I'm ready for that question because it gets asked a lot. And
okay.
The way I look at it is that I'm a candidate for the people. When I was elected, I never had anyone to ask me when they have an issue that they want resolved. The first thing they don't say is, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm an independent. This is my issue. The issues are people issues. And when I ran as an independent, I ran because I saw that even the people I was serving were not just Democratic issues, they were people issues. And it wasn't, that I said, okay, I'm gonna go to the Republican Party, or I'm gonna come to the independent, or I'm gonna go to the Democrat. And even as when I ran for Congress, I came back and ran as a Democrat 2 years ago. But one thing I want to make a very valid point to your listeners, is that when Senator Sanders ran for office for president 2 times, he ran as a Democrat. And right now he's still an independent. And so if there was no question to him and an issue with him, why is it an issue with me when he did it twice? And he's still an independent. He is not a Democrat at this time, but he's serving, up in Washington, D.C.
And I like your answer about that, because that is true. Sometimes, do you think that in politics they play double standard?
I do think that, and I think if we got away from focusing solely on parties and focus on issues, we could get a lot more things done. I worked across the aisle as a bipartisan Democrat when I served 8 years. And because I was able to have common things with Republicans, not everything, but there were some things when it came to education that we agreed on. And because I was able to have that good relationship, when things that were needed for Clayton County, I had the door open. Like I brought $45 million to my county because we could not collect the jet fuel tax on the sales from the jet fuel tax. So just like you and I go to the gas station and we pay for our gas and we pay the taxes on the gas. Well, at the airport, the part that sits in Clayton County, which is about 80% of it, we could not collect that sales tax, which was part of our SPLOST, which is part of funding buildings, technology, and all of that for our schools, for our cities, and our counties. But we could not collect that.
Okay.
Let's see somebody.
Why are you fixing that? I know that you worked under the Gold Dome, so I don't think you have a problem of working across the aisle. Do you agree with me?
Yes, no, I don't have. Actually, I was down at the Capitol March the 21st. Even before that, I sit on, I'm a vice chair of the ML King Jr. Advisory Council, which is the entity that recognizes and commemorates Dr. King's legacy each year. And I was appointed to that committee, not as an elected official, but as a community person by the former Speaker Ralston, who's passed away now. But they contacted me and said, hey, we think you'd be a good person to serve on this committee. Now, I've been gone from the legislature 4 years. So that tells you the impact that I still have at the state capitol and the respect that I have. So when you're looking at who's going to go down and represent you and be able to bring things home to your county, you want someone that's bold, that's accessible, and that's going to stick to the principles of which she's always said, which me. And even when with the party, when I didn't vote with the party, they always knew what my vote was going to be beforehand. They never were surprised because I told them up front, and I told them why I'm voting like this. Because there were some things that were not about the people. It was about, we want you affiliated over here with the party. When I told them at the end of the day, how's that going to help the people that I serve? And I have to go back to my constituents and tell them why I voted, which I did. Anytime there was a controversial vote, I immediately had a town hall meeting and I explained to my constituents, this is why I voted. I would go down each line item of the bill, explain it to them, answer any questions that they had. So I was an open leader. I didn't have anything to hide. And then I always told them if I voted one way and later on, hey, that was not the right way, I can admit it because everybody had limited information at that time. And that's what happens down at the state capitol.
Okay. Let me ask you, because you do a program with I think it's single mothers, honoring single mothers. Tell us a little bit about that program, because I was impressed how you nominate them young women. Give us a little history of that.
Yes, so in 2018, House Resolution 279 was my second bill that I authored and was able to get passed and signed by Governor Deal. And it designates March the 21st as Single Parents Day. So not just single mothers, but single fathers as well. And we have a nomination process where anybody in the state can nominate someone who lives in the state who they think are doing an outstanding job of raising his or her children. And each year we recognize, we bring them down to the state capitol, we honor them at the state capitol, and then we also have a banquet where they actually receive a certificate for them being an outstanding parent. So I was a single parent, and the young lady who approached me, was two ladies actually, Beverly Brewster and Miss Tom Macbeth, when I was elected. And they said, hey, did you know there's a national proclamation that recognizes Single Parents Day on March the 21st, but we don't have it here in Georgia. And I said, really? They said, no. So we worked together to get this bill passed that now every year, March the 21st, is Single Parents Day in the state of Georgia. And so we've been working since 2019 to get it out across the state of Georgia. We've had someone that has been awarded all the way up to Rome, Georgia, down to Albany, to Augusta.
Okay.
So it's not just in the metro Atlanta area, it's for the entire state of Georgia. And from there, we formed the Georgia Single Parent Coalition, where we would be starting doing workshops to help support our single parents because they need resources. And so we need to make sure they have it so they can have children that become productive citizens and are not hindered because they're growing up in a single parent household.
Right. Let me ask you a question. How often do you see males come through that program? Do you have a lot of males, single males?
Yeah, we have not a whole lot, but I would say each year we have at least 3 single males that have been nominated. And and we really make them stand out because we're so excited that anytime you have males that are nominated as being great single fathers, we recognize them and really single them out. So it's open. We will start nominations again in October. We do it from October to December of every year. So be on the lookout because if you know, and you can nominate more than one person. Everyone that's nominated receives a certificate of appreciation. Now there are those who've done an outstanding job, kind of over and beyond, and we recognize them as finalists. And we actually do a resolution for them, but everybody receives recognition. And we have a really nice first quality banquet that we have. We have music, we have entertainment. I mean, we just have a good time and we have good food as well.
Oh, so you trying to invite me because you know I like to eat. I hear you.
No, I'm inviting you because I know you know some single parents.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Let me ask you a question. You had a bill that I think it was a little controversy about the school. Am I correct? Let's
Yeah,
talk
so
about
it
that bill.
was,
Let's talk about the bill.
House Bill 614, the Landon Johnson Act. And it allowed video cameras to be placed in the classrooms of special needs students. So what happened was a parent, her name was Lala Johnson, and I named the bill after her son, Landon Johnson. It's the Landon Johnson Act. And she's a parent in Clayton County. She wasn't in my district, but she's a parent in Clayton County. And she noticed her son is autistic, and she noticed a scratch on his face. And so she approached me. I was at a parent conference, and she approached me and asked me would I introduce legislation to allow video cameras in the classroom so that parents like her can be able to see what actually happened to their children who are nonverbal. Or like my son has ADHD when he was in school. And so when it came down to timeline and telling me what happened today, yesterday, or last week, he would get stuff mixed up. So something could have happened last week, but it really happened today. And so that those cameras, so I understood exactly how she felt. So those cameras not only protect the children, but they protect our educators who as well, because they could be falsely accused and they could lose their certificate. So it was a bipartisan bill, and we were able to get it passed out of the House unanimously, and the same over in the Senate. And Governor Deal signed that bill into law. So those were 2 bills as a Democrat that I was able to get, that I authored, which means my name was the first signer on the bill in a majority Republican legislature. And every Democrat can't say that. And that happened early on in my career. That bill, the first bill was passed in 2016, and the single parent bill was passed in 2018.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Because when you go down, I'm going to say when you get down to the Golden Dome, I'm going to say that.
Yes.
Will you be able to work with your fellow Democrats? Because sometimes you have the ones that think they know everything and they don't want to listen. Will you be able to work with those Democrats?
I'm able to work with all people, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, or anybody. I'm the type of person, I'm a very open person. I do speak what's on my mind. But I'm a very humble person, and I like to listen to what other people have to say. Now, if it doesn't make any sense, we'll have another conversation. But one of the successes I've been able to do, like I said, is being able to work with all people because I know how to listen. And so there have been times, even I served on the education committee and actually had a leadership position. I was vice chair of the subcommittee on academic support as a Democrat. And I had other Democrats who had education bills, and they would come and I'd advise them, hey, this bill, you probably need to do this. You probably need to do this. Okay, since I'm on the committee, I'm moving forward, to make sure it gets where it needs to be, or if it's something that was going on with the bill. So I always looked out for my Democratic colleagues. So it wasn't that it was so controversial for us, and I still have some that supported me now as I'm running for state senate. So it's not, for people to think that, oh, Democrats don't like her. No, there's some that we had some run-ins with each other, but I still respect them in their position and able to still speak to them and be able to work together. So yes, I'll be able to take the experience I've had as an 8-year representative, and then now transfer those skills over to the Senate and be open to, because I have a lot of other stuff I'm going to learn on the Senate, but the legislative pathway is the same. So I'm not going in as a freshman. I know where every building and location is. I've already established good working relationships with some of the committee chairs, some of the key people down at the state capitol. So I'm excited. I'm ready to start working. And then in this particular district takes in Clayton and Fayette. So, you have a different dynamics in demographics when it comes to economic level between the two counties. So I'm looking forward for the challenge to bring Clayton up to where it needs to be, and also make sure that Fayette maintains and excels in their area as well. And hopefully being able to bring Clayton up to where Fayette is. It is possible, but leadership matters.
Oh, absolutely. I say that all the time. You got a book, and let me ask you a question, because I like that slogan, the book in the buck in the ballot. Where did you come with that slogan?
So it's the book, and the ballot. And my dad, Stovall, who was known in the community, very strong community, he's 83 now, but his younger days did a lot in Southeast Atlanta. And when Mayor Maynard Jackson, the late Mayor Maynard Jackson, first ran for office, my dad helped him in his campaign as one of his field generals. And later, after he was elected, he appointed my dad to be the community liaison for the city of Atlanta. And so one of Mayor Maynard Jackson's slogan was the book, and the ballot. So if you ever go back and listen to any of his recordings, you will hear him say it. It might not be in that order, but it's still with the 3 B's. And I said, what greater person to emulate as an elected official and a public official than Mayor Maynard Jackson, who made such an impact in Atlanta, especially when it came down to ensuring that Black businesses got their part and say so, which our company, my dad and mom, started a printing business. And from 91 to 2008, we were the first Black company to ever have a joint venture partnership with a major merchandising company at this Georgia Dome. So if you ever came down there between those years and you bought anything except food, you bought a hat program, you were buying it from the stands that we managed and monitored. So that was a great accomplishment, and what better way to honor his legacy as well. And we printed his t-shirts when he ran for office both times.
Okay. I hear a lot of people, and I hear you often talk about Mayor Maynard Jackson. Let me ask you a question, because you were so connected, and your father also have a freeway. Is it 85 to 75 named after him?
Yeah, there's a bridge in University Avenue exit.
Right.
So if you're going 75, 85 north into Atlanta or heading south out of Atlanta, there's a brown sign that says Stovall Bridge, and that's my dad. And that's actually the area where he grew up in. He went to L.J. Price High School, Wildcats. He make sure we know that he's a Wildcat. But he's done a lot of his NPU chair, the local neighborhood chair. I mean, just about anything you can name it. That's where I got my early start was going to an NPU meeting. They assigned me to be the secretary, which I didn't know what it was. I was about 18 years old. I didn't know what they meant by the secretary, but those folks taught me really well on what a secretary is supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you a question. Then I'm gonna go back to the Maynard Jackson. So you a Grady baby?
No, I was born in Hugh Spalding. My dad and my mom were Grady babies. Me and
Okay.
my two sisters, we were born in Hugh Spalding right next door.
Okay. Let me ask you. So I hear a lot of people, and I hear you talk about the late Mayor Maynard Jackson. If Maynard Jackson was alive today, do you think he'll be pleased with some of the things that's happening, especially in Georgia, especially in the Atlanta area with the black leadership? Would you think he'd be? How do you think he would feel?
Well, of course, I was very young, but just based on the times I did get a chance to meet him and be around him, and of course the different things my dad would share, others that worked alongside him, I think that he would probably be very, very concerned because of the legacy that he left here for blacks, especially when it comes to businesses, and making sure that he created so many millionaires. But it comes to time we got to make sure that come passes down and making sure you're pulling a lot more people up and making sure there are opportunities for blacks. So there's still ways, and it's not too late, for that to be that train to kind of turn around. But it goes back again, I can't stress it enough when it comes to leadership. You have to have leaders that have a vision. And then with that, the leaders have to make sure they reach out into the community to have advisory councils, which is one of the things that I'm going to do. I did it when I was a state rep, but even so now, because the district is so large, is having an advisory council of those who specialize in certain areas. There's no way as an elected official you know everything. And so if any elected official ever say they know everything, they are lying because they don't. And that's why a wise person seeks counsel. That's what the Bible says. And so that advisory council will be very instrumental. And you have them from all ranges. You have those who've been around a while, those who are in the middle, and then you want your young people, your young adults to be there because it's going to be their future where they're living at.
Mhm. Now let me ask you a question with this, because you said something. Do you think the leaders that's trying to come up aboard now, do you think that they're missing the mark on how things should go, or are they trying to just say I want to be down at the Gold Dome and don't have a connection with the people in the communities?
I think it's a mixture. I've ran into some people that are running and those who are currently elected that I think are doing a good job. I think where the mark may be missing, and this is what my sister and I always share with my dad, is that somewhere along the line, they did not do enough training, leadership training for the next generation to be able to pass on all that knowledge they learned through EOA, Economic Opportunity Atlanta, those summer programs. Like I know I used to work during the summer with the CEDAR program. So all those things are what's missing in our community. And because we got that missing, our young people that are growing up don't have a sense of direction because they don't see any progress that's going on, in our communities. And there's no reason for us to have a community that's still impoverished in 2024 in our black communities. There's no reason to have schools that are still on Title I. Why? All of these development, all these opportunities for economics we have, there's no reason for it, no excuse. And so we as the people that want to be leaders and those who are leaders, we have to sit down, put egos aside, and put at the forefront that it's all about the people. And if we keep that in our focus, that whatever we do, is this going to hurt the people or it's going to harm the people? And if we use that as our guiding light, we can be able to see a turnaround. There's no reason. I mean, so many opportunities in Clayton, so many opportunities in Fayette, and even over in South Fulton, where you all are, it's so many opportunities. But you have to have leaders that are not afraid to make hard decisions. And sometimes those decisions are not going to be popular. But I think if you take time to explain it, to the constituents so they can understand it and not ram it down their throats. I think more people would be more understanding and bring them along, let them be a part of the planning. Not once you come up with the plan and then you implement it, that's too late. People don't want to get on board like that.
And I agree with you. That's what brought my attention to you, Valencia, because you were a person that I watched. You stuck to what you believed in. You didn't straddle the fence, and you. I saw you as a servant leadership. Then I call a show off. Uh, in the last years, do you think that leadership has become such of like a celebrity style leadership?
In some aspects, I would say yes, and it could be good. If you have a celebrity style leadership, which means you are reaching more people, that means you may have more followers, use that platform to the benefit of the people that you're serving. So I think in everything, I'm a very optimistic person. And so I try to look at the good in everything. So now I see some bad, and when I see it, I'm gonna call it out. But living in a county like Clayton, where we've been a tier 1 county for 12 years, which is not a good thing. You think when you hear number 1, then it means, hey, we number 1. No, that means we're at the bottom. But there's still opportunities for the county. And so stressing that leaders working together, we were able to show our unity with the jet fuel tax, being able to get the 45 million. I led the way as the delegation chair, but as a leader, how good is a leader if you don't have followers? So I had people that we all came together and we said we're gonna have to see what stopgap we can get for our county. The same thing for the farmers market on Forest Parkway that sits in Clayton County. The sign always had Atlanta State Farmers Market. It never said anything about Clayton, but it sat in Clayton almost 50-something years. So I put in legislation to create a House study committee to look at the revitalization of the Atlanta State Farmers Market. Out of that recommendation, it was bipartisan. I was the chair of the committee, but I had other chairmen or chairpersons on the committee up under me that were Republicans. But we all knew that that's our largest distribution center in the Southeast United States, and it sits in Clayton County. It sits in Georgia. And so with that, our recommendation, we were able to get money put in the budget to be able to do some renovations to some of the buildings. And we were able to change the name of that sign that now says Atlanta Clayton. But that came out of leadership being bold and being persistent and saying, this is what I want for my county. Another thing is that we were able to get Atlanta Technical College to have a satellite office on Highway 85 in Clayton County. That didn't come with me sitting on my fingers or sitting on my hands. That came from me working, networking, and people seeing that I was committed and consistent, and that's what the people said that they needed. If we're going to grow as a county, our economic and training workforce has to be number 1. But with that, you got to have a foundation in education. And that's why I fight so hard when it comes to parent and school choice, because education is important to me, that every child that graduates from our high school should be having a trade. They should have a graduate with a trade. And to me, it doesn't matter whether they are in a traditional public school, a non-traditional public school, a private school, they homeschool, school pods, whatever it is that parent feels that child needs, as long as they're going to get the best education and become productive citizens when they age out of our system. That's all that matters to me. And how do we give the support to those different mechanisms or entities that want to utilize that choice?
Okay, let me ask you a question. There was a lot of controversy bills that was passed that Governor Deal signed into law, and uh, the left fought with the right, and it was a lot of bickering. Do you think that let's talk about this bill, that abortion bill?
Mhm.
Do you think that Governor Deal should have signed that bill?
Now, it was Governor Kemp Is that
Yeah,
what
I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
sorry. Governor Kemp. Sure, Governor Kemp. That's right.
it's
I don't know
okay.
why I said Governor Deal. Governor Kemp. Do you think he should have signed that bill?
Um, so there are two things whenever you're looking at politics.
Mm-hmm.
There's always do the right thing, and then there's always I have a constituent base that I have to make sure that I'm following with. And so as an elected official, you're always in that struggle, no matter what, you're always in that struggle. And you're never gonna satisfy either side. You're never gonna have 100%. So you have to make decisions as to, okay, who do I think that's gonna be offended the most that I can live with, and then who I don't offend that I can live with. So for me, when it comes to abortion, I think that should be the woman's choice of what she wants to do. And until the state of Georgia has in place a great program for foster kids, and for any other area where we see that there are parents who have children that they don't want. And what happens is when those kids are put into those foster care or those other homes and they're not wanted, that affects them mentally. They become adults that are affected mentally. And so we have done an injustice if we are forcing a woman to do something that she doesn't want. Why not start doing prevention programs early on and also talking to not just the women, but the men too, because the woman can't have a baby without the man.
I
And
agree.
having that conversation with both, and not just it's on the woman for the decision, but don't force her, but have opportunities that if this is what she wants, we support it. If she doesn't want, because at the end of the day, that judgment is on her. She's the one who has to see her maker, not nobody else for what they're doing. And so don't add extra pressure when women have to go to another state to get an abortion. That's even worse, because it's worse on her health and her mental state. And then you're gonna make her have a child that she doesn't want, so the child gonna end up being abused. Then you got to put in DFAS to go take the child from the. Why do all of that? Why are you so concerned about that woman and her decision? Let's focus on the health care that's needed in this country. Let's focus on maternal mortality, decreasing that in the state of Georgia. We have a high number of women that are dying after childbirth or during childbirth. Why we're not focused on that? Let's improve our education and training programs. Yes, we're the number one state to do business, but if we don't have an educated workforce, those businesses are not going to stay here in Georgia. So everything works hand in hand in what we're doing. Why we're not supporting our senior citizens? They need so much services because they're living longer. And because they're living longer, that means some of them want to stay in their legacy home. Why do they have to fight just to get repairs done on their homes? I don't understand all of this. So don't spend all that time talking and fussing about a woman's right and abortion. Leave it alone. Let that woman make that decision on what she wants
I
to
agree
do.
with you. I agree with you. Let me ask you a question. You probably hear this a lot. I hear it a lot. I'm confused by it because I never heard it until maybe the last couple of years. What is majority minority? What is that? You either majority minority. You either poor, you rich. What is the majority minority? What is that?
Well, I can tell you what I think it's supposed to mean. That don't mean I agree with what the
Okay.
definition is. So, for years we were minorities because we did not make up the majority's was population and opportunities financially. We were not there. So we were considered minorities. And then you had another segment of race or ethnic groups, like the Hispanic and Asians, that now are also part of what's called the minority. But then, so now you have what's called a majority minority. So remember, you have the minorities, which are the ones that are not as populated or have the financial wherewithal. They're considered minority. Now, in that minority group, you have some that are more in population and economic status, supposedly, than the other minorities. So that's my definition of the majority minority. But all of it is words that's used to confuse people. Why you have to have all those words? Just tell what it is and what we're going to do to resolve it, but we don't have to have an argument or a conversation about majority, minority, or majority, minority, minorities. Why? Everybody know that blacks here in America have suffered tremendously when it comes down to education, healthcare, and economics. So why not put the programs in place for those who want, and everybody's not going to take advantage of it, we know that. But for those who want, make the pathway easier for them to be able to get to where they need to be. A lot of times when you even start thinking about business owners, they don't want nobody to have to give them everything, but they're saying make it fair, make it equitable. That when I go in to apply for an SBA loan for money to grow my business, that I'm not looked at first because of my race and automatically thinking that, oh, they're dishonest because of their color of their skin. No, look at me as a blind applicant. You don't need to know anything about me. Look at what my proposal is and what I plan on doing. Do I have the wherewithal, the experience to do it? And if not, how can the SBA and these small business development centers that we have across the state of Georgia, how can they help support our business, which is part of the book that I talk about, economic rejuvenation, small business focus, because small business are the ones that are hiring 60% of our people that live in our communities. They hire people that look like them. So if we strengthen those small businesses, then we can have a more robust community. We can have a place where we live, work, and play. It won't be an issue. But we just need that opportunity and take those blinders off to give us the opportunity that we should have.
Okay. Look, I know we passed 2:30, and I know you got somewhere to go. Tell us about your website and any of your campaign remarks. I want to thank you for coming on. I'll see you under the gold dome. I'm just gonna leave it like that. I'm gonna see you under the gold dome. I can say that because you don't live over here, so I can in your closing remarks, again, thank you, Valencia.
Thank you so much, Damita. Thank you, WCEG. Of course, I'm a host on Issues and Answers on the first and third Monday, so I appreciate anytime I'm able to be guest on my other co-host, fellow host show. So I appreciate it. And I know we had some tough conversations in the past, but they were conversations that needed to be had. And I appreciate your professionalism with it. I appreciate all the work that you do in the community because you're a voice for those who don't have a voice. You're able to dig into those things that people may see on the surface and don't see what's really going on behind the closed doors. And that's what we need, more of that openness out to our community so they'll know who the best leaders are, who they should elect. And so that's why I'm running for State Senate District 34 in Clayton and Fayette County. So even if you don't live in the district, you know somebody, word of mouth has always worked for many, many years. You can go to my website, Stovall, GOSTOVALL.com. I'm on the social media platforms. I'm on Facebook at Valencia Stovall GA. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm even on Nextdoor. And on TikTok. So you can find me at Valencia Stovall and visit my website to see my platform, those things that are very important to me because they're important to you as a citizen and as a resident in Georgia. And not just because I'm elected for District 34, but when I go to the state capitol, I'm voting for the entire state of Georgia. That's why I'll be a state senator. And so I have to be concerned about the entire state of Georgia. But I have a focus on my district. I'm gonna take care of my district just like I did 8 years as a state representative. I always looked at my district first, but I knew I had to collaborate to make it better because it's no good to have one side good. It's like in some parts of our county, like in North Fulton. They have better things up there, more opportunities than in South Fulton. And so why we can't have just a Fulton? Why we can't just have a Clayton? Why we just can't have a Fayette? Why we just can't have a Henry? Well, just don't differentiate North and South because then that comes discrimination. So give whatever on one side to the other side. And so those are the things I believe in. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. And we're out here on this campaign trail. Go to the website. You want to volunteer. You want to donate some money to help us to get the word out. And most of all, we need your vote. Early vote starts April the 29th to May the 17th. And election day for primary is May the 21st. So remember, Stovall, that's all.
All right, we want to thank you. You open up a can of worms, but we're going to talk about that later. Thank you so much for coming. We look forward to seeing and hearing from you, especially under the Gold Dome. Go get that seat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Unmute.